Hello lovelies! Welcome back to part 2 of Pop Culture Magic. Today we're going to be looking at ownership and the intention of creators. Now on this topic I definitely have a lot more questions than answers, so if you guys have any opinions you want to share with me, please leave them in the comments below so we can start a bit of a discussion. Now, this was kind of prompted, this aspect of the conversation around pop culture magic. I was having a chat recently with a hoodoo practitioner here on YouTube in one of their live Q&As, and I asked them for their opinion on the topic of using pop culture and magic because they are so based in that, firm traditionalism. And what they said to me was, these pop cultures and the examples that we were talking about at the time were Harry Potter and The Craft. And they said these franchises are simply money grabs. They're ways to get money from people and to, support the content creators. And so because of that, it made it invalid to be used in in magic. It wasn't suitable to be used as sacred because it was created to make money. And that just sort of struck me. I thought that was a really interesting point of view. But I do have to wonder, with the amount of money that Christianity sort of rakes in with its donations, I don't know that something obtaining money from a person really puts that outside of what is suitable to be used in magic. Because, there's certainly a hell of a lot of Solomonic magicians who are doing work in the name of God. So to say that I don't think that sort of can be separated from the institution that is the church. Now obviously we live in a monetary society, so people need money to be able to put food on the table. It's the way that we interact in trade. I would say though that that's not the sole reason most content creators are putting these franchises out there. Yes, they do need to be able to make money. Yes, they do need to be able to support themselves in the society that we've constructed. However, that may not always be the sole reason. I don't know if you can hear those dogs barking. I would say, though, that content creators would typically have a message that they're trying to put out into the world, not just give me your money. We look at, the backlash for the most recent Star Wars film. There was all that hullabaloo about the SJW agenda. And it got me thinking, it's like, well, yeah, the content that these creators are going to absolutely, portray their political and social views. That's the whole point of storytelling, isn't it? And now I understand that, there are other criticisms, that the characters aren't compelling and things like that, and that's what actually drives the story, when we're talking about Star Wars specifically. But I don't really want to engage too much in that conversation. I just think it's a perfect example of how we can see people, and the complaint that they're putting forward is, your content is trying to push some sort of ideology. And, of course it is. That is the intention of creators, to put forward their ideologies in a way that we can consume them and interact with them and interface with the concepts. You look at something like the film Love, Simon that came out recently, which is all about a young man coming of age and his explorations of homosexuality, and that definitely has a agenda attached to it. And that agenda is the normalization and acceptance of homosexuals, and, not just homosexuals, of course, but the entire spectrum of LGBTI plus, people. And, to expect content without any sort of things like this. You look at the Hunger Games and the whole, fighting back against the government theme. Of course content's going to have those underlying themes within it, and to expect a story to exist without those driving themes would just make for really empty and boring storytelling. If we were, for example, to look through a lens of a world where money doesn't exist, where there's no such thing as monetary gain from creating this content. I really think that then you would see people more and more and more using the content that they're creating to broaden people's ideas, to broaden people's experiences, and to share your views, and to share your morals, and to actually share something more than a message of "give me your money" to these people. Now, obviously, all I've talked about really is films, but I think this can apply to all kinds of pop culture, games and, film and television and, whatever it might be. Books, of course. Gotta love books. So obviously, exploring these sort of ideas, we can understand that, yes, in the most part, the creator's intention is not for us to take what they're putting out there and run away and make a religion out of it, but they are doing more than trying to obtain funds from people and, make money. At least I should hope so in the most part. And I think the franchises that are really supported, the things that are booming, are the stories that really engage us, really, touch us and move us and broaden our ideas, broaden our thoughts, and, give us representation for things that we're looking for. But what about ownership? See, like I say, in this monetary society, there is definitely profit from the art that these people are making, and, we as a society have decided that this is how we want to function. It's not necessarily a choice that I agree with. I think that a resource-based economy is a much better idea, and if you guys have never heard of the Venus Project, you should definitely Google that shit, because there is a better way. But in this world where we have decided that money is wealth, these people definitely need to be able to protect what they're creating. Now, it does bring up a concern for me as a pop culture magician, the things, things like copyright and such, that restrict me from really gaining, having financial gain from the work that I've put in and the things that I've created through my interaction with certain franchises. I think, outside of legal or financial restrictions, there are certain moral ones as well, perhaps, that need to be looked at. And, we have this interaction with the fan base, through fan fiction and fan art and headcanon and all these sorts of things. And, that I think, the fans interacting with the franchise definitely seems to lend some sort of quality to it, seems to give something over to the franchise, and also takes away from it as well, in a way that, these people are creating art inspired by these franchises, and they have no sort of, ownership or legal rights to put that out there. But morally, I think everybody can sort of appreciate that, whatever inspires your art is fantastic, and you should definitely continue creating fan art. I don't think anybody's disputing that, but should these people have a right to gain from the effort that they're putting in? I think about all the work that I've put in to study and write and things about my tradition, and there's no way that I would be able to ever compile these thoughts into a book and get it published, because there's these restrictions on the word Digimon. It's trademarked, it's not mine, I can't use it. And even though the experiences that I've had are mine, and the ideas I've had are mine, and the work that I put in is mine, there's still no way for me to put food on the table with that work. Because, like I said, of these monetary restrictions. I suppose at any point the creators of Digimon could message me with a cease and desist and say, stop portraying our franchise in this way, it's not appreciated. And I wonder if that's ever happened to people in this community. Like, has anybody ever had, you know, creators say, no, this isn't my intention, you shouldn't do this. And, like, in your personal practice, what right do they really have to say about that? Like, if you want to take something and turn it into a spirituality, like, I wonder if George Lucas has ever had a problem with the Jedis. I'd be interested to know that. I don't know a whole lot about Jediism. I've read a couple of books, but I don't know too much about it. If anybody knows, definitely leave me a comment. I'd love to hear about George Lucas's thoughts on Jediism. I guess the only other point that I would ask is whether this changes, like, whether people's opinions would change if this was a tradition that has been, like, across generations. Like, if this has been something that's passed down from your parents, and then the content creator says, stop, you know, don't put things out into the world that says you're using my franchise for your religion. I wonder, you know, where do people stand on that? Like, because there are definitely people in my community who have children, and their children have, you know, their own Digimon partners and practice the same way we do. And I wonder, like, what would happen if Bandai just said, no, stop, you can't do the Digimon believer thing anymore. I just, I don't know. But again, like I say, this is just me putting out some questions. This is just me sort of trying to start a dialogue. I don't have a lot of answers on this point, but I would love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments below. Definitely, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I think that's what people say. And I hope you're well. Definitely subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and it's always a pleasure. I'm sorry about the lighting in this video. The weather is really terrible, so I had to use just the room lighting. So, but like I say, I hope you're all well. All the best.